My name is Andrew, and I am a recovering drug addict. It's definitely been a struggle, and I'm definitely trying now harder than I've ever tried before, and things are actually starting to look better, which is something I never thought I would say a year ago. So the reason I'm making this video is because I wrote a little poem/story about a heroin addict, and I'm sharing it with you guys because I feel that maybe it might give a perspective that people don't see, because either they don't want to see or they just don't really care. And I hope that maybe it might inspire people to reach out to somebody, whether it's a loved one, a friend you used to talk to, or anybody you know that's struggling and might be having a problem with addiction. Even if you think and you don't know, reach out, because when you're in that spot, it's a very, very lonely place, and sometimes all it takes is somebody to reach out to you to let you know that they care, and that can mean the world. It could even save a life, because when you think nobody cares, it's really hard to care yourself. But anyway, this poem's called "The Dying Man Inside," so here it is. This is the story of a troubled soul. He had a heart of gold, but his veins ran cold. Most who thought they knew him couldn't even tell. On the outside he was happy, but inside he wasn't well. You see, he lived in constant darkness, but he walked amongst the light. He tried to hide the pain, but he was slowly losing the fight. Then one day someone came to him. He said he had a cure. You can numb the pain to strike this vein, but be careful, this stuff is pure. Next thing you know, he had this feeling, better than any sex he'd ever known. He couldn't believe how lucky he could be for this cure that he was shown. As quick as the feeling came, even quicker did it go. But that didn't bother him, because he knew just where to go. The man was already waiting, knowing he planted the devil's seed. He pretended to be a friend, but he's only serving a fiend in need. Each time that he went, it only left him wanting more. One trip turned to two, and two trips turned to four. And when the day finally came, when he had no money to spend, he said to himself, "That's okay, I've reached the end." Little did he know what his future had in store. Within a couple hours, he was laying on the floor. Something wasn't right. He could barely even breathe. He was violently shaking. His body was aching. All he could do was choke and heave. He didn't know what was happening, and he didn't know what to do. All he knew was that the pain was worse than any pain he ever knew. He tried to call his friend, but his friend wasn't there. You see, he knew he had no money. Without money, he didn't care. It was then he made a decision that he never thought he'd make. He went to his parents' house, grabbing anything that he could take. And when he finally had some money, his friend still wasn't around, so he set out on the streets and asked the first person that he found. This man was even more sinister than the man that got him hooked. He had the cure, but it wasn't pure, because he himself had been the cook. He couldn't tell the difference. All he could think was ending the pain. But when the needle struck the vein, nothing was the same. You see, he had found a hidden spot to do his dirty deed, but when he tried to stand, he fell right to his knees. His world started spinning. His vision turned to smoke. He decided to lay down, but then began to choke. He tried to yell for help, but he couldn't even scream. He felt like he was dying, but he hoped it was a dream. He laid there in that alley with an empty needle in his hand. He wished that he could live, but God had a different plan. He died there in that alley with nobody by his side. I guess people should have noticed the dying man inside. Yeah, well, that's it. I do got quite a bit more poems written, and definitely thinking about sharing them. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed it, and definitely don't disown somebody because of their addiction. I mean, I know they probably hurt you, and they've probably done a lot wrong, and you think that they're never going to get better, but they're still the same person that you knew before. They're just trapped. And I mean, I understand somebody can only do so many things to you before you turn your back on them, but I mean, unless you've given them a million chances, maybe consider giving them one more and trying to help them, because it could save their life. Alright, bye.